New topic. We're going to be doing quick table calculations. We did cover this in the accelerator program, albeit very quickly and using a running date. So I'll do that really quickly so you can see what it is. And if you remember in our last video, we were using the formulas data set. We're now going to switch back to the sample superstore. Let's click that and we're back to that original data set. I'm going to bring in that one we did in the accelerator program. So I'm going to get, it was the order date, I believe. So if I just drop that here, so I'm using the right click drag method. So right click on my mouse, drop it into columns. And I'm going to do just a continuous, let's say month, right? So I got that. And I want to show something on the Y axis or the vertical axis. And we'll do the simplest one, sales, right? So we now have sales. This, if I change it to a bar chart, is really just showing the sales in that month, right? But what is the total sales from this start date to the end, right? And this is where your quick table calculations come in. I'm going to just duplicate this, or I'm going to hold the control button on the keyboard. So I have two, they're completely identical. And I'm only doing this so that you can see what happens to the data set once we do a quick table calculation. I right click on this, I go quick table, and I go running total. And as you can see, it is now showing me the running total. $123,983 in sales, right, is the sum of all this. And I know that because if I highlight over the whole thing and I hover with my mouse, the sum is 2.9 million, which is, sorry, I was reading the wrong thing, 2.9 million, no, 2,938,139. I was reading the individual sales. Apologies for that. That's a very basic way of looking at running totals, but we can do running totals in other ways as well. Let's look at a heat map, right? Or a table. Let's do a new one. I'm going to bring in the subcategory and I'm going to bring in segment. Where was it? There. Right. And we're going to bring in the sales once again. And from here, you can see that these are just individual sales, right? And actually what we'll do is we'll also bring category in because I want to show you something a bit later on, right? And what I want to see here, if I just space this out a bit, right? I want to see the running total. And there's different ways you can do a running total. You can have a running total going this way, backwards this way, until you get to the very end, which shows your running total, right? You can have it going this way, then come back up and go like that. It all depends what kind of behavior you want to see. You can have it so that it goes in here only, right? So you can have an individual panes, as they call it, right? And there's a lot of customizations you can do with that. So let's go ahead and do a running total. If I right click here, right, because this is the equivalent of having my sales up here, okay? I could do running total here, or I can do running total from down here, same thing, okay? The only difference is this shows it as text. The one up here shows it as a bar, all right? So we right click here, quick table calculation, and go running total. And the default is going to show it like this. If I can see, actually I can't see. So let's just go right click and go edit, right, to see what's happening. So it's actually going across, right? So it's doing 195 plus whatever was there to give you this as a final value. So it's just going across this way, right? Left to right. And what I might actually do is, so we can see it, because it's a bit hard to see what's actually happening, is I'm going to duplicate this, right, and put it into a dashboard. So let's bring in 8 and 8, right? So you can see it side by side. Let's just make this a little bit narrower. Okay, and I'm going to do just fit width so it fits inside, right? And maybe we can do entire view just so it fits nicely. Okay, this one will be called the original. I can't spell, right? And this one will be the quick table, so you can see the difference, right? If I come back in here, okay, and I make this the running total once again, right? And I go back to my dashboard, right? You can see that this is the sum of consumer and corporate. So if I add these two together, I get 302,000. If I add all three together, I get 363,000. And because we're doing table across, right, which I'll explain in a second, it's only doing one row at a time, right? Maybe we'll go from here. It's just going this way. It's not coming back down. So the way to make it do that is if I come back in here, if I go to sheet, right? I come in here, I go edit, right? And this tells you which direction it's going. So if I say table down, it's going to sum up this way. So let's go ahead and try that. Down. So as you can see, all the numbers are now growing. All right. If I go across then down, it's going to do this pattern. This way, then this way, going like that. It's almost like a zigzag. So 278, and it's going to get larger the further you go this way. You can also go this way, down, then across. So this is the across, this is the down, right? So down, oops, where's my drawing tool? Down, across, and so on, right? There we go. And that covers the table, right? So as you can see here, it says table. There's also something called a pane. What is the difference? Well, this whole thing is the table. So if you apply any of these table ones, it's going to apply to the whole thing as a rule, meaning it's going to go all the way to the bottom, right? If I use this pane method, it works a little bit differently. Let's go bring it out. It only does it in the next level of information, right? So in this case, if I did a across then down, or let's say a down then across, it's only going to go up to here. Let's actually change color so you can see it. It's going to go down, across, down, across, down, across, and it's going to finish up here. Then this one's going to do it, right? And that's the difference between doing a pane and then doing a table. So let's go ahead and do that. If I pick pane down, it's only going to sum this way. And this one's going to start again. So 132, 220, it's going to start again. And then 80, it's going to start again, right? If I do across then down, it's going to go to the right, right? Oops, hang on. What did I press? So if we go across then down, I think it's because those have zeros in it in the data set, right? So it's going across 275. As you can see, the numbers aren't going backwards. Like they're not getting less because they're getting larger. You're summing up, you're doing a running total. So if I do it down then across, same thing. It's going to come down this way, then up. The only reason this is expanded is I believe there's a lot of zeros in here, right? So the ones where it doesn't change means there's no consumer value for chairs, right? And it's trying to do the whole thing. And cell, the very last one, refers to an individual cell, which kind of doesn't make sense because if you're doing a running total, why would you do it just on a single cell? So I'm not too sure why this function is here. If someone does know why, maybe you can explain it to me, but I've never seen a reason to use this cell one for any type of quick table calculation because quick tables imply that you're going through your data. If cell is only referring to a single cell, well, then nothing happens. It's the same as not having a quick table calculation, right? So that is how you do the quick table calculation, but with the directions, right? In the next set of videos, we're going to cover some more features of the quick table calculations using some of the other quick tables, such as, you know, your ranks, your moving averages, because there's a lot more features in there. There's also what's called the calculation assistant, which doesn't really turn up in your tables, but it does once you do visuals, and it's extremely useful. And I didn't even know what it did until really recently and how useful it is. So we'll cut it there. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you at the next video.